So a function is given. I want you to find the inverse function. You should have all of those steps written in your notes. If you don't, you may want to go back and watch that lecture again. I'm going to let you work on this one. I hope you were able to do this on your own without help from other people, without help from your notes. If you're not doing it without help, you haven't practiced enough. And there's lots of practice available for you in the e-text and in the homework of MyMathLab. So the first thing you did was change f of x to y, and then x and y switched places. We got rid of our denominator. We gathered all of our terms with y on one side, our terms without y on the other side. We opened the brackets, found y is common, and then we divided by that factor of x plus 3 and found our inverse function. Of course, the last step is to verify. I'll verify one way here with you in this lecture, but I want you to do the verifying for the other way on your own. So let's start by finding f composed with the inverse function. I'm going to have to look up my inverse function again. Okay, so there's our inverse function. Why don't you do the substitution? So I hope your substitution looks like this. Now you can continue finding the composite function. So after your substitution, you bracketed the numerator and denominator. You wanted to write each bracket over a common denominator of x plus 3. You opened the brackets there and you found that x plus 3 is common, and then divided by -10. So this does equal x. But remember, we're only half finished our verifying. When you verify, you also have to show that the inverse function composed with f equals x. I'll leave that for you to do on your own. So we have our function, and then I've written the inverse function above there. I would like you to find the domain and range of the function. So we could see in yellow that the denominator of our function cannot equal 0. So we have a domain restriction of x cannot equal 2. For the range, we know that it's equal to the domain of our inverse function. In green, x plus 3 cannot equal 0. But remember, when we're talking about our range of the function, it's telling us that y cannot equal -3. Now I would like you to find the domain and range of the inverse function. I've written the function there. Remember, the inverse function I've written at the top of the page. So for the inverse function, we saw that x plus 3 cannot equal 0, x cannot equal -3. And the range of the inverse function is equal to the domain of the function where x cannot equal 2, and therefore in the range, y cannot equal 2. And again, you should note that the domain of the function equals the range of the inverse function. The range of the function equals the domain of the inverse function. The domain and range simply switch places. So again, at the end of your notes, there's a set of review questions. The answers for these are posted on your class Moodle page, and it's probably a good idea to get started doing all of these review questions. They'll help you for your test as well as your final exam.